Hello everyone, I'm Kapila here, your English teacher, and today we'll take up the chapter 3 questions. I don't have the textbook, so I have downloaded it in my mobile, and you can also download it from the link given below after the video in the description. You can download it in your mobiles, tablets, laptops, desktops. Okay, now this chapter here, 3 questions, is the story of a king. He wants to know the answer of 3 questions because he thinks if he will know the answer of those 3 questions, he will never fail. So let's see what those 3 questions are and whether he gets the answers, if he gets the answers, how he gets the answers, and what are the answers. So let's start reading. The thought came to a certain king that he would never fail if he knew 3 things. These 3 things were: what is the right time to begin something? Which people should he listen to? What is the most important thing for him to do? So these were the 3 questions of which he wanted the answers. Okay, what is the right time to do something? Who are the most important people he should listen to? And then what is the most important thing for him to do at a particular time, right? The king therefore sent messengers throughout his kingdom, promising a large sum of money to anyone who would answer these 3 questions. So now the king had many men, and those men went throughout the kingdom to give the message of the king, that king has said this. And if they would be answering the questions, those 3 questions, then the king would give them a gift or a reward of large sum of money. Huge amount of money will be given to those people. So the messengers, the people of the king, they went here and there and they took the message of the king along with them to be known to the public. Okay. Many wise men came to the king, but they all answered his questions differently. In reply to the first question, some said that the king must prepare a timetable and then follow it strictly. Only in this way, they said, could he do everything at its proper time. Others said that it was impossible to decide in advance the right time for doing something. The king should notice all that was going on, avoid foolish pleasures, and always do whatever seemed necessary at that time. Yet others said that the king needed a council of wise men who would help him act at the proper time. This was because one man would find it impossible to decide correctly, without help from others, the right time of every action. So these were the various answers which the king got. Some people told that he should make a timetable, follow that timetable. Others said that he should be able to decide that this is the right thing to be done, and he should be consulting with a council of members. That is, some people should be given as an advisory. They would be advising the king, and then the king would be listening to them, and they would tell that that was the right thing to be done at that time. So, because he alone would not be able to decide that. That is why so many men would be given to him. But then others said that there were some things which could be urgent. These things could not wait for the decision of the council. In order to decide the right time for doing something, it is necessary to look into the future. And only magicians could do that. The king therefore would have to go to the magicians. So some other people, they told the king that it was not possible that the council of ministers would be deciding things, making a timetable on this. Some things will be there which needed urgent attention. They had to be done urgently. So they should be knowing that what was about to come and whether it was urgent or not, would it be affecting the future. So for that, the king needed to be a magician, because only a magician could know what will be happening in the future. And so they thought that the king should be consulting magician. In their answers to the second question, some said that the people most necessary to the king were his counselors, others said the priests, a few others chose doctors, and yet others said that his soldiers were most necessary. So, before this paragraph, whatever we have read are the answers, or the different answers that the king got for the first question. Now for the second question, he got the answer as the counselors to be the important, or priest, or doctors, etc. So various answers he got for the same question. To the third question, some said science, others chose fighting, yet others religious worship. Again for the third question, he got different answers. Like some people said science should be taken care of, some said religious worships, etc. and the others said that fighting, etc. As the answers to his questions were so different, the king was not satisfied and gave no reward. Instead, he decided to seek the advice of a certain hermit, a holy man, who was widely known for his wisdom. So the king must have heard about a holy man who was very wise. He had heard about him and he was not happy with all kinds of answers that the people had given, because they were very different answers, not one single answer for one single question. So that is why he thought of taking advice, some piece of advice he would take from that hermit, that holy man. The hermit lived in a wood which he never left. He saw no one but simple people, and so the king put on ordinary clothes. Before he reached the hermit's hut, the king left his horse with his bodyguard and went on alone. Now this hermit, he lived in the woods, he never left the woods, and he only met simple people. He did not meet royal people and something like that, and that is why the king put on simple clothes. He wore ordinary clothes only, and then he left the bodyguard and horse and everything before reaching the hermit's hut. As the king came near the hermit's hut, he saw the hermit digging the ground in front of his hut. He greeted the king and continued digging. The hermit was old and weak. As he worked, he breathed heavily. So now he went there, and as he went there, he saw that the old man, that is the hermit, he was digging the earth. He must be doing gardening, okay? And he was digging the earth. Because he was old, he was breathing heavily. When we run very fastly and when we stop, then we also start panting. So in the same manner, because of digging, the old man, the hermit, was also panting. He looked at the king, he greeted the king, but he did not stop. He continued with the work of digging the earth. The king went up to the hermit and said, I have come to you, wise hermit, to ask you to answer 3 questions. How can I learn to do the right thing at the right time? Who are the people I need most? And what affairs are the most important? So he told the king why he had come there. He told the hermit why he had come there and what all were the 3 questions for which he wanted the answers. The hermit listened to the king but did not speak. He went on digging. You are tired, said the king. Let me take the spade and work in your place. So the king asked the questions and the hermit listened, but he did not say a word. He didn't answer the questions. He kept on doing the work. So the king thought maybe he is tired and that is why he is not answering my questions. So he asked if he could help. So he said, give me the spade, I will do the digging instead of you because you are tired. So he asked for the spade. The spade is a digging tool, a small digging tool. Thanks, said the hermit, giving the king his spade. Then he sat down on the ground. So he said thanks. He was thankful to king, and then he sat on the ground because he was really tired doing the work. When the king had dug 2 beds, he stopped and repeated his questions. The hermit gave no answer but stood up, stretching out his hand for the spade and said, now you rest and let me work. So again, the king asked the questions because he had done a lot of work. 2 beds he had dug. And so he thought after this, so maybe the hermit would answer my questions. He again asked, but he did not answer the question. Instead, the hermit said, okay, fine, give me the spade. I'll do the digging now. Maybe you are tired. But he did not answer the questions. But the king did not give him the spade and continued to dig. But the king also, out of modesty, because the man was very old and he thought maybe he is old and he's not wanting to answer. Let me do some more work. Maybe if I do some more work, he answers my questions. So the king continued. He said, no, I'll continue digging. And the king continued digging the earth. 1 hour passed, then another. The sun went down behind the trees. And at last the king stuck the spade into the ground and said, I came to you, wise man, for an answer to my questions. If you can give me no answer, tell me so and I will return home. So now, hours went by. 1 hour, then the other, and the king kept on working and slowly the sun went down. And now the sunset was there. So the day was about to get over now. So he asked the king asked the hermit that if he was not able to give the answer of the questions, then the hermit should tell it very clearly to the king that I am not able to answer your questions. Okay, he should say that. And the king would return back home. Here comes someone running, said the hermit. And while the king completed that dialogue, the hermit said, here comes someone running. Man, somebody must be running and coming towards their hut. Okay. So that's the end of part 1. Now let's discuss the comprehension check questions. Why did the king want to know answers to 3 questions? The king wanted to know the answers to the 3 questions because he thought if he knew the answers to those 3 questions, he would never fail. Question 2. Messengers were sent throughout the kingdom. Now it's an MCQ. So there are 4 choices here. I am reading all the 4 choices. Then we'll tell the right answer. To fetch wise men, to find the answers to the questions, to look for the wise hermit, to announce a reward for those who could answer. So the answer here is to announce a reward for those who could answer the questions. That is the right answer. Now let's do part 2 of the chapter. First part had ended on the line where the hermit told the king a man was running and coming towards them. The king turned round and saw a bearded man running towards them. His hands were pressed against his stomach, from which blood was flowing. When he reached the king, he fainted and fell to the ground. The king and the hermit removed the man's clothing and found a large wound in his stomach. The king washed and covered it with his handkerchief, but the blood would not stop flowing. The king redressed the wound until at last the bleeding stopped. So that man who was running and coming towards them, he was a bearded man, long hair over here, below the chin here, and that is the beard. So the bearded man came and he was pressing his stomach. And when he came near, both the king and the hermit saw that there was a huge wound over here. Something must have hurt him, and blood was coming out from there. And as soon as he reached there near the king and the hermit, he fainted and he fell down there on the ground. So the king, he washed the wound and then he dressed it with the handkerchief, but the blood did not stop. Blood was coming out and out. So the king again did the dressing and again did the dressing. And at last the bleeding stopped. It took a long time for the bleeding to stop. The man felt better and asked for something to drink. The king brought fresh water and gave it to him. By this time the sun had set and the air was cool. The king, with the hermit's help, carried the wounded man into the hut and laid him on the bed. The man closed his eyes and lay quiet. The king, tired by his walk and the work he had done, lay down on the floor and slept through the night. When he awoke, it was several minutes before he could remember where he was or who the strange bearded man lying on the bed was. So the bleeding had stopped from the wound. Both the king and the hermit, they took him inside, that man, bearded man, inside the hut. And the king was also very tired. He had done a lot of work. And so he also slept there on the ground. And in the morning when he woke up, he for a fraction of time, he didn't know where he was and who was the man lying next to him. "Forgive me," said the bearded man in a weak voice, when he saw that the king was awake. "I do not know you and have nothing to forgive you for," said the king. So he asked for forgiveness. He said, "Sorry, please." And the king did not know why he should forgive him, why he should give sorry to him. Okay, that is what both are saying to each other. "You do not know me, but I know you. I am the enemy of yours who swore revenge on you, because you put my brother to death and seized my property. I knew you had gone alone to see that hermit, and I made up my mind to kill you on your way home. But the day passed and you did not return. So I left my hiding place and I came upon your bodyguard, who recognized me and wounded me. I escaped from him, but I should have died if you had not dressed my wounds. I wished to kill you, and you have saved my life. Now, if I live, I will serve you as your most faithful servant and will order my sons to do the same. Forgive me." So the king did not know this man. The man told him that he was his enemy and he had come there to kill him, because the man had come to know king was going alone. So he hid at some place. Quietly he was hiding at some place, but the whole day went away. He did not come. And why he became the enemy of the king? Because the king had killed his brother. Okay, and he had taken away the property. Okay, that is the reason why he became the enemy. So the whole day passed. He was hiding there to kill the king, but the king did not return. The king was busy there with the hermit. He did not come. So this man, bearded man, he came out of the hiding place. And the bodyguard, he saw him. He knew who he was. He was the enemy of the king. So he wounded the bearded man. And he would have died if the king would have not saved. So now, because he had saved the life of that bearded man, the bearded man promised him. Earlier he had promised to his own self that he would be taking revenge. Okay, but now he promised that he would be a faithful servant and he will also ask his sons to be faithful to the king. The king was very happy to have made peace with his enemy so easily and to have won him over as a friend. He not only forgave him, but said he would send his servants and his own doctor to look after him. And he promised to give back the man his property. So now the king became happy. The enemy had become friend, and he promised that he would return the property, he would give the property back, and he would also send a servant and doctor to look after him as he was wounded. Leaving the wounded man, the king went out of the hut and looked around for the hermit. Before going away, he wished once more to get answers to his questions. The hermit was on his knees, sowing seeds in the beds that had been dug the day before. The king went up to the hermit and said, "For the last time, I beg you to answer my questions, wise man." So he thought that he would leave there. Another day had come, and he went outside after talking to the wounded man, the bearded man, and he saw that the hermit, he was sowing seeds there in the earth. And again he requested the hermit to answer the questions. "You have already been answered," said the hermit, still bending down to the ground and looking up at the king as he stood before him. So when the king asked if he could answer the questions, when the king requested him to answer the questions, he said, "You've already been answered." "How have I been answered? What do you mean?" Now the king did not understand how the answer was given. The hermit never gave the answers. So how he got the answers? He wondered. "Did you not see," replied the hermit, if you had not pitied my weakness yesterday and had not dug these beds for me, you would have gone away. Then that man would have attacked you and you would have wished you had stayed with me. So the most important time was when you were digging the beds. And I was the most important man. And to do me good was your most important business. Afterwards, when the man ran to us, the most important time was when you were caring for that man. Because if you had not dressed his wounds, he would have died without having made peace with you. So he was the most important man, and what you did for him was your most important business. So now the hermit explained to him what was the most important time, who was the most important person, and what was the most important business. So at various point of the day, you have various important businesses to do, various important persons, like he has explained over here. When he was with the hermit, digging the beds, most important work. Most important person, hermit. And most important business was doing good to him. Similarly, when next point of time came in the day, the most important act to be done by him, the most important business was dressing his wounds. Okay, and the most important person was that man, and the most important time was that time when he was dressing the wounds of that man. Okay, similarly, now if we learn this, we learn that what is the most important as a student, what is most important for us. Supposing, I'll give you an example how to understand this. The example is, supposing you are sitting in a classroom. So that particular time at which you are grasping the lessons or listening to the lessons of the teacher, that is the most important time. And the most important person is your teacher at that time. And the most important business is to indulge yourself into the learning that is happening in that classroom. Okay? So remember then, there's only one time that is important, and that time is now. It is the most important time because it is the only time we have any power to act. So whatever present time, if you are in a drawing class, drawing is important. You are in a computer class, learning computers is important. That teacher, that computer teacher, your drawing teacher, your games teacher, whatever you are. So that present, that time is important. Why is that time important? Because you can act only in the present. You cannot act in the past. You cannot decide what you're going to do in the future. You never know what will happen. So this time, now, the present time, that is the most important time, and utilize it, children. The most necessary person is the person you are with at a particular moment. For no one knows what will happen in the future and whether we will meet anyone else. So, the most important person, whatever present time you are with that person, that is the most important person, and you should be giving importance to him. The most important business is to do that person good, because we were sent into this world for that purpose alone. Now, this is very important. You have to do good. The business, the most important business is to do good to that person with whom you are at a particular moment. So, as a student, as a child, your duty in a classroom is to do good to your own self and to the learning that is happening there. Okay, children? So, this is what we have learned from this chapter. Now, let's do the comprehension check. Complete the following sentences by adding the appropriate parts of the sentences given in the box. So, in the box, we have the sentence part and we have to complete the sentence. Many wise men answered the king's questions. The answer is, from the box you take the third one, that is your answer. But their answers were so varied that the king was not satisfied. This is the answer for the first one. Second is, someone suggested that there should be a council of wise men. The answer is the last one, to help the king act at the right time. From the box, the last part of the sentence, that is the answer. Now, third one. Someone else suggested that the king should have a timetable. The answer is the fourth one and follow it strictly. The king requested the hermit. The answer is from the box, the second one, to answer 3 questions. Fifth is the king washed and dressed the bearded man's wound. And the answer is the first one from the box, but the bleeding would not stop. Now let us take the text questions. Question 1. Why was the king advised to go to the magicians? Now, the king was advised to go to the magicians because some matters should be taken in urgency, and what was about to happen in the future only the magicians knew. So that is the reason why he was suggested to go to the magicians. Second question. In answer to the second question, whose advice did the people say would be important to the king? So in answer to the second question, the advice of the counselors, doctors and priests would be important to the king. Question 3. What suggestions were made in answer to the third question? In answer to the third question, some said science, others said religious worship, and some chose fighting. Question 4. Did the wise men win the reward? If not, why not? The wise men did not win the reward because the king was not satisfied with the answers given by them, as they were very different answers for same question. So he wasn't satisfied, and that is the reason why he did not give them the reward. Question 5. How did the king and the hermit help the wounded man? As the man came running towards the king and the hermit, he reached there and fainted and fell on the ground. The king washed his wound and put his handkerchief to dress it. But the blood did not stop coming, so he again redressed it. He again dressed it till the blood stopped coming. Then finally, both the hermit and the king took him up and made him lie down there inside the hut. Question 6. Who was the bearded man? Why did he ask for the king's forgiveness? Now it has got 2 parts. So for the first part, the answer is the bearded man was the king's enemy. The second part is why did he ask for forgiveness? The bearded man asked for forgiveness because he had come there to kill the king, as the king had killed his brother and taken his property. Question 7. The king forgave the bearded man. What did he do to show his forgiveness? The king forgave the bearded man, and to show his forgiveness, he promised that he would return his property back, and he would also send a servant and a doctor to take care of him. Question 8. What were the hermit's answers to the 3 questions? Write each answer separately. Which answer do you like most and why? The hermit's answers for the 3 questions were that the most important time was the time of present, that is now. And the most important person is the person with whom you are at that particular moment of time. And the most important business is to do good to that person. And why did he give all those answers? I am answering that part also. He gave those answers by explaining it to the king that had he not done good to the hermit, he would have not waited there in the hut, he would have not met the man, and maybe he would have got killed there outside. And because he stayed there, he did good. He did that present time. In that present time, he dug the beds, did good to the hermit, and that is why he got the reward of it. That is, he made peace with that man, and both the lives were saved, of the king also and of that man also. Now, let's begin with working with language. Here, we have been given two columns, column A and column B. Column A is the word and B is having the meaning of the word, but they are all jumbled. So, we have to match the correct word with the correct meaning. Let us take for example, they have given first one they have done for us. Fainted is lost consciousness. That they have done for us. Now we'll do the next ones. First is wounded. The answer is severely injured. Awoke. The answer is got up from sleep. Forgive. The answer is pardon. Faithful. The answer is loyal. Pity. The answer is feel sorry for. Beds. The answer is small patches of ground for plants. Return. The answer is give back. Okay. Now, let's do the next exercise. Each of the following sentences has two blanks. Fill in the blanks with appropriate forms of the word given in brackets. We've already done 3 forms of verbs. So in the brackets, they are given over here, the words, and now we have to fill in the proper form of the word. He has dash to help me. Do you think he will remember his dash? In the first blank, he has promised to help me. And in the second blank, it will be, do you think he will remember his promise? So, in the first one, it is a verb there, and in the second one, it is a noun here. And this has already been done for us. This example has been done for us. Now, we'll begin with it. The dash said that only fresh evidence would make him change his dash. In the bracket, we have judge. So, the first blank has the answer judge, and the second blank has the answer judgment. Second sentence. I didn't notice any serious dash of opinion among the debaters, although they dash from one another over small points. So in the first one, the answer is any serious difference of opinion. And in the second blank, although they differ. Now, third sentence. It's a fairly simple question to dash, but will you accept my dash as final? And in the bracket, we have the word answer. So, in the first blank, the answer is question to answer, but will you accept my answer as final? So, in both the blanks, we have answer. It isn't dash that dash should always be the mother of invention. In the first blank, it isn't necessary that necessity, N-E-C-E-S-S-I-T-Y, necessity should be the mother of invention. So the necessity is here in the second blank. Hermits are dash men. How they acquire their dash, no one can tell. Again, the word wise is here. In the first blank, hermits are wise men, and how they acquire their wisdom. Okay. Now, next one. The committee has dash to make Jagdish captain of the team. The dash is likely to please everyone. In the first blank, we have the committee has decided, and in the second blank, the decision. Okay. Next sentence. Asking for dash is as noble as willingness to dash. In the first blank, the answer is forgiveness, and in the second blank, It is willingness to forgive. Now, let's do some writing exercise. 2 passages you have to write. In one, you have to assume yourself as the hermit and you have to describe your meeting with the king. And in the other passage, you have to assume yourself as the king and then you have to describe your meeting with the hermit. The beginning lines of the paragraphs are given here in the question itself of speaking and writing. So from there, you can take the beginning lines. If you wish, you can also make your own beginning. That's all for now. See you in the next video. You can download the book from the link given below in the description.